अध्याशा वॉइस शुभुची अध्याशा ओके ना बॉन्ड थिला ना okay we'll start in 2 minutes let others join then we'll start okay अभी मतलब स्टार्ट करो अभी join करो जॉइन कर लो 2 मिनट पर
शुभोदय राम यार शुभोदय पटनायक मनीषा
1 2 3 3 5
ये भी एडमिटेड
ଭଲ ସବୁ କିଛି अरे आशो ए ललित सर ये कौन कहउछन ललित सर कहले आशो इंस्टाग्राम रे टोकन देखो माने पागल हे गयो Good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me? Good morning, good morning. ସମସ୍ତେ ଶୁଣି ପାରୁଛ ତ? I hope all of you can hear me. Correct? How many of you belong to science background? I think all of you belong to science background. Arts. What's your background? Education. Okay. Before we start, let me talk about India's energy quest. India is trying to develop different sources of energy. Yes, it is trying to harness different sources of energy, and these different sources of energy come with positives and negatives. Yes or not? Every source of energy comes with some positive points as well as some negative points, pros and cons. Let us first discuss about the positive and negatives of, let's say, fossil fuel. What is the negative you get out of fossil fuel? What happens if you use too much of fossil fuels like petrol, diesel? What exactly happens? What is the negative impact? It pollutes the environment. Yes, it is responsible for pollution. It is responsible for climate change. Yes, and the most important thing is in India you do not get fossil fuel. So that means you have to get it from somewhere else. You have to import. So you are dependent on other countries for your energy requirements. Yes or not? Yes. Second, you have renewable energy sources like wind, like solar, like hydroelectric. There are renewable sources. They will not be depleted, they will be replenished. Yes. So what is the positive and what is the negative? The positive is it doesn't pollute the environment. But what is the negative? The negative in solar energy, it is very costly to produce. Second, it is not consistent. If you have too much of sunlight, then maybe the energy is higher. If it is not, then the energy is lower. Same with wind. Depends on the intensity of wind. If the intensity of wind is higher, then you will have higher electricity production. If you have lower wind, then you have lower amount of wind, then you will have lower amount of energy production. So every source of energy has its own positives as well as negatives. However, when we discuss from the point of view of nuclear energy, that is when things start to change. Nuclear energy also has negatives. Like many people say that the fuel which is used in the nuclear energy, what will happen to that fuel after it is utilized? It is radioactive. It will pollute the environment. How are you going to dump it? Where will you keep it? Yes, because it is responsible for a lot of diseases. For that, what you need to do, you need to have a mechanism wherein the nuclear energy is utilized in a manner where there is less amount of residue, yes, less amount of byproduct, and energy is consistent. So the Indian nuclear program, which was started in the 1950s by a great man, his name was Homi Jahangir Bhabha. You've heard of him? Bhabha Atomic Research Center, you must have read. Yes? No, no, no idea. Bhabha Atomic Research Center. School, all these things are there. Improve all these things. Start reading. Start reading the newspaper every day. You have read newspapers, right? Read the newspapers. You get a lot of. Instead of going through YouTube videos, if you read the newspaper every day, it will give you a lot of information. Start reading newspaper. Half an hour, 45 minutes every day. That is a good habit to inculcate. So it was Homi Jahangir Bhabha who started the nuclear program in India. The nuclear program was started with a vision that India will be energy sufficient. It was started with an intention that India will not be dependent upon any other country for its energy requirements. Okay? Yes? So that is what was the motive behind the beginning of the Indian nuclear program. So we just learned that fossil fuels are exhaustible. They'll be finished off after some time. They pollute the environment. Yes, we also learned about the renewable energy. Renewable energies, they are intermittent. Sometimes the intensity is higher, sometimes the intensity is lower. So we cannot have a consistent form of energy production. We have another source, that is the biomass, the gobar gas. गोबर गैस का प्रॉब्लम यह है कि गोबर गैस का कैलोरीफिक वैल्यू लो है. Gobar gas will not be able to produce that much of energy which is needed, and if at all it produces, it will take a lot of time. छोटे मोटे चीजों के लिए गोबर गैस यूज किया जा सकता है, एक सिंगल गैस के लिए या दो गैसेस के लिए, but on a larger scale it is not possible. So that is why India zeroed upon the nuclear energy so that it can make India what? Self-sufficient in its energy requirements. We will not be dependent upon any country for our what? Energy requirements. So we started the nuclear program. What did I say? It was started by Homi Jahangir Bhabha. Yes. And another man who has contributed significantly to this is M.R. Srinivasan. Okay. So this is what? This is what was the idea behind the beginning of India's nuclear program. Acha, I told you the same thing. Why do we need nuclear energy? We just discussed. Nuclear energy can be developed from three sources. There are two things which we must be learning. One is the fissile material, the other is the fertile material. Okay, can anybody tell me, online fellows, what is a fissile material and what is a fertile material? If we were to understand what is a fissile material and what is a fertile material, anybody tell me, what is a fissile material? Anybody? Dibyasha, can you tell me what is a fissile material? Dibyasha is saying, please tell me. Tell, I can hear you. Tell me. Give me a second. Wait down. Ebe koilo Dibyasha? Say something. Anyone? Jore ko. Shubhun. She's correct. She's correct. What she's saying is, Adhyasha, what she's saying is that, sir, fissile material are those material which can be directly used as fuel in the nuclear power plant. Yes, they can be directly used. For example, what's your name? What did you say? Rajesh. What is your name? Sudhanshu. Rajesh has prepared for the UPSC examination for 1 year. He can give the examination today itself. If I ask him, I give him an opportunity, can you give the exam today? So if he gives the exam today, he is ready to give the exam today, he is a fissile material. But for Sudhanshu, I will have to convert Sudhanshu into a proper aspirant in next 1 year. I'll have to coach you, I'll have to give you training. Once all this is over, then you will be ready to give the examination. So, fissile material are those material which can be used as a fuel in the nuclear power plant, in the nuclear reactor. Whereas fertile material are those which needs to be converted into fuel to be utilized into the nuclear power plant. Okay, so Indian context, what are the fuel? Fuel is mostly uranium 235. Okay, but in India we do not have uranium. Uranium is as scarce as possible in India. There is absolutely very less uranium in India. But God never closes all the windows for you. If God did not give you uranium, God gave you another fertile material called thorium. So we have around 25% of the world's thorium in India, but a minuscule percentage of uranium. Okay, so what do we need to do? We need to have a technology wherein we have the capacity to convert thorium into uranium 235. Okay, so that is what our फाउंडिंग फादर्स ऑफ न्यूक्लियर प्रोग्राम थॉट कि हमारे पास यूरेनियम नहीं है. अब किसी भी मुल्क से अगर हम यूरेनियम मांगेंगे तो इट विल बी problematic, we will be dependent. So let us start to create technology wherein we can use our indigenous thorium which is found in India itself. Okay, so what is happening in India today is how we are trying to utilize the thorium. Okay, next. How does a nuclear reactor act? Okay, the question is, if somebody asks you, how does the nuclear reactor act? Remember, there is a fissile material called uranium 235. Okay, you have a fissile material uranium 235. When a neutron interacts with uranium 235, the uranium 235 accepts that neutron. So 235 plus 1, 236. It accepts the neutron. It accepts the neutron and it becomes unstable. For example, I am giving you an example. You have a car where 4 people are present. You accept one more. उसके बाद क्या हो गया? अब तुम हिलने लग गए. गाड़ी में कैपेसिटी नहीं है और एक आदमी को बिठाने की. But you have accepted. So when you have accepted, you become unstable. So when you become unstable, you start decaying, you start breaking. So you break into 2 parts. One is the krypton, the other is the barium. 2 elements are created, krypton and barium, and along with that there is release of energy. Getting my point? So the uranium 235 accepts the extra neutron, it becomes unstable, it decays into krypton and barium and it releases energy. Okay, now what is important for us is this a singular reaction? क्या यहीं पे खत्म हो जाता है माजरा? क्या यहीं पे खत्म हो जाता है कहानी? नो, आप खुद देखिए, एक न्यूट्रॉन आके हिट किया था यूरेनियम 235 को, वो टूट गया, टूट के बेरियम एंड क्रिप्टॉन बन गए. नाउ यू हैव एक्स्ट्रा न्यूट्रॉन्स. यस, अब ये एक्स्ट्रा न्यूट्रॉन करेगा क्या? That extra neutron will act with some other uranium 235 which is already there. You getting my point? So there is one uranium 235, one neutron goes and interacts with the uranium 235, it changes into krypton and barium and there is release of energy and neutrons. Yes, these neutrons are free again because there are neutrons which are being released. They will interact with some other uranium 235. So this reaction is continuous. You getting my point? मैंने एक रिमोट कंट्रोल गाड़ी को छोड़ दिया है, वो यहां भी टकराएगा, वहां भी टकराएगा, वहां भी टकराएगा, वहां पे भी टकराएगा. जहां जहां टकराया, it will have its impact. So that is what uranium 235 is continuously interacting with neutrons to generate energy and decaying into krypton and barium. So this is known as a chain reaction. It is known as a chain reaction. It continues. The एमिति continue, hey, you start getting energy and that energy is utilized for your electricity. How? I will tell you. How electricity is generated, that I will tell you in some time. You getting my point? ये हो गया. फिर next क्या हुआ? We have multiple what? Nuclear power plants in India. See, you have important ones in Narora. Narora is in Uttar Pradesh. You have in Gorakhpur. You have in Rajasthan in Kota. You have in Gujarat. You have 2 in Gujarat. You have 2 in Maharashtra. And all of them are near the source of water. Why? I'll tell you in some time. So every nuclear power plant in India is near the source of water. Why? I'll tell you in few minutes. Okay. So there are multiple. So all these nuclear power plants work on the principle which I just told few minutes back, where there is a chain reaction and generation of energy. That energy is utilized for electricity purposes. Okay, तो ये सारे जो आपके लिए क्या बोलते हैं उसको न्यूक्लियर पावर प्लांट्स हैं, दे आर ऑल फॉर सिविलियन पर्पसेस. So nuclear energy can be used into two categories. One is civilian, the other is strategic. Can anybody tell me what is this strategic importance of nuclear energy and what is the, what do you call that, civilian usage of nuclear energy? Anybody? Anybody who will tell me what is the civilian usage and what is the, क्या बोलते हैं उसको, strategic importance? Yes? Anyone? Who will tell me? Anyone? Sudhanshu? For civilian purposes, we use it for generation of electricity. And for strategic purposes, we use it for the creation of atom bomb. This is used for atomic bombs, nuclear weapons. Okay, so that is the importance of this particular thing. Okay, so nuclear energy can be harnessed for energy security as well as national security. Getting my point? India, I'll just tell you a brief story. India did its first nuclear test in 1974. When it did its first nuclear test, we were put under economic sanctions. कि भाई तुमने कैसे कर दिया, हमारे परमिशन के बिना तुमने किया कैसे? There is a group in the world which says that only they will be possessing nuclear weapons and rest countries cannot have. Okay, but India वालों को तो पता है कि भाई if at all we do not develop nuclear weapons today, we have a very hostile neighborhood. पाकिस्तान, बांग्लादेश, चाइना, ये सब तुम्हारे इर्द गिर्द मंडरा रहे हैं. So it is important that you have what? Nuclear weapons. So that is why India started its nuclear program in 74. The first testing at a place called Pokhran in Rajasthan. Then second time it was done in 1998. And we were again put under economic sanctions. कि भाई तुम कैसे कर दिए? तो तुम्हारे साथ ये डील नहीं होगा, तुमको यूरेनियम नहीं मिलेगा, तुमको कुछ नहीं होगा. You can go and do whatever you feel like. All the major developed countries will not help you economically. But in 2005, there was a change in the policy of the Americans. Americans told, ठीक है, आपने कर तो दिया है. What we will do is, we will give you certain discount. We will give you certain permissions wherein you can get uranium from the world, you can use your nuclear energy, you can start your nuclear program. We will recognize you because India का record बहुत अच्छा है. India is not a rogue nation. India का एक और policy भी है जिसको हम बोलते हैं no first use, NFU, no first use. As per the no first use, the no first use policy of India, it was written by a man called, it was given by a man called K. Subramaniam, who is the father of S. Jaishankar. S. Jaishankar's father was pivotal in giving the nuclear doctrine of India. The NFU says that India will not attack any country first with a nuclear weapon. Second, India will not attack any country which does not have nuclear weapons. दोनों चीजें हैं. पहला कि we will not use the nuclear button first. Second, we will not use the nuclear button against anyone who doesn't possess a nuclear weapon. We are a credible democracy. We are not a rogue nation like Pakistan which can do anything they want. We are a very credible nation. Yes, democratic principles, morally we are very upright. India never attacks anyone. If somebody attacks, then we give them back 10 times. That is the thing, but not like this. So no first use was also there in place. So the Americans also thought that no, India is a good country to deal with. So they told कि आप क्या कीजिए, you divide your nuclear program into two parts, one being the civilian part, the other being the strategic part. The civilian part will be under inspection. We will take the records, we will keep the data to check whether everything is fine or not. But we will not have any oversight into the strategic sector. आपको जो करना है आप कर लीजिए. That is the autonomy which India wanted. And I think, as per my knowledge, this is one of the biggest achievements of Manmohan Singh in getting this particular deal. Yes. So इंडिया के जितने सारे न्यूक्लियर क्या बोलते हैं उसको पावर प्लांट्स थे, दे केम इनटू द इंस्पेक्शन radar of IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency. However, the strategic sector was kept closed. Okay. There was one particular plant in India which recently made headlines. Its name was Kalpakam in Tamil Nadu. Kalpakam in Tamil Nadu, which few days back, 3-4 days back, came into headlines as it declared that they have achieved criticality, a term called criticality. अब ये criticality का मतलब क्या है? What is the meaning of criticality in this particular sense? Criticality here means Kalpakam nuclear power plant will not require fuel anymore. It can generate its own fuel and utilize the same fuel again and again and again. You getting my point? It is like a candle which gives light to other candles. The one candle lights another candle without you intervening and trying to put matches to different things. You need not put oil again and again to the diyas. Oil अपने आप generate होगा, दिया अपने आप जलेगा. That is the criticality of the Indian nuclear power plant, which we have achieved right now. I will just explain. Yes, I discussed few minutes back that India has only 1 to 2% of the global uranium, but we have around 25% of the world's thorium. So what should we be looking at? We should be looking at a scenario wherein we can utilize the thorium for our energy dependence. Yes, where we can utilize the thorium for our energy security. That is what should be our lookout, and that is exactly what we have achieved. That by 2047 we will not be needing anyone for generation of our electricity. It will be developed automatically. The criticality I told, fuel will be generated, electricity will be generated, again fuel will be generated, electricity will be generated. Like we learned in our Hindu scriptures, Kamdhenu, you read, which can give whatever you want. That these will act as fuel Kamdhenus for the future. So India thought, let us utilize thorium instead of uranium because we do not possess. Okay. Now, how is the thorium found in India? Thorium is found in the beaches of India. All the beaches of India you found thorium. Yes, कैसे होता है? समंदर की जो waves होते हैं, they carry these minerals. These are called rare earth minerals. Thorium, it is not found as thorium. It is found as a sand called monazite. Thorium is found as a sand called monazite. And monazite is deposited in the beaches of India by whom? By the waves. So you see, all these areas will have what? Monazite sand. That is processed and utilized for nuclear power plants. So in Odisha, Odisha is very much endowed with thorium, monazite. Where? Gopalpur. If you go to fire station here, there is the Indian Rare Earth Limited. Indian Rare Earth Limited is responsible for the exploration and extraction of rare earth minerals. You have lot of rare earth minerals like titanium, zircon, monazite, ilmenite, rutile, garnet. These are all very, very important from the perspective of space technology, from the perspective of nuclear technology. So India has favorable balance in terms of finding the rare earth minerals on the beaches of India. You getting my point? So that is why our policy makers thought, let us make our nuclear program in a manner so that we can utilize the stuff we have rather than what we are importing from different countries. Okay, let me just tell you what happens in the, we have developed something known as three-stage nuclear program. थ्री-स्टेज न्यूक्लियर प्रोग्राम. जो सबसे पहला वाला स्टेज है जो हमने स्टार्टिंग में किया है उसको हम बोलते हैं प्रेशराइज्ड हेवी वाटर रिएक्टर्स. व्हाट? प्रेशराइज्ड हेवी वाटर रिएक्टर. सो व्हेन वी स्टार्टेड आवर न्यूक्लियर जर्नी वी स्टार्टेड अप विद दिस. जो पहला वाला रिएक्टर था उसका नाम था अप्सरा. हमने नाम दिया था उसका अप्सरा. तो हमने जब शुरू किया, व्हेन वी स्टार्टेड दिस पर्टिकुलर थिंग, वी wanted to utilize natural uranium. Uranium naturally is not uranium 235. What do you want? You want uranium 235. But naturally what you extract, it is uranium 238. 99% of the uranium what you get in the market is uranium 238 and only 1 to 2% is uranium 235. Okay. So there are two types of what? Reactors. एक वो रिएक्टर है जो कि डायरेक्टली यूरेनियम 235 को यूटिलाइज कर सकता है. यस, बट हमारे पास 235 तो है ही नहीं, बिकॉज आवर what we get, it is uranium 238, not 235. So we have to bring in a technology wherein we will utilize uranium 238, which will be converted into 235, and then finally we will get energy. So in the first process what we started, the pressurized heavy water reactors, we use natural uranium 238. It got converted into plutonium, like what we learned last time, barium and krypton. Similarly here what was generated was plutonium and uranium. यूरेनियम भी निकला, प्लूटोनियम भी निकला, दोनों निकले. Okay, as byproducts. What did we get as byproducts in the previous reaction which we were learning? Barium and krypton. Similarly, here what is generated is uranium and plutonium. So plutonium is used, uranium is used for a new type of reactor. Once this reactor is functioning, उससे जो सामान निकलेगा वो है यूरेनियम एंड प्लूटोनियम. That will be utilized in the second part of the nuclear reaction. That is known as fast breeder reaction. What? Fast breeder reactor. The first type of reactor what we used was pressurized heavy water reactors, whereas the second generation what we used is known as what? Fast breeder reactor. Now the question is breeder. Breeder का मतलब क्या है? What is the meaning of breeder? Anyone? Online fellows, who will tell me what is a breeder reactor? Anyone? Who will tell me what is breeder reactor? Breeder reactor means those reactors which will develop its own fuel. अभी यहाँ पे आपके लिए प्लूटोनियम फ्यूल की तरह आया. ओके, प्लूटोनियम इज बीइंग यूज्ड एज फ्यूल, यूरेनियम इज बीइंग यूज्ड एज फ्यूल. दोनों इंटरेक्ट करते हैं, उनके साथ आप थोड़ा थोरियम मिला दीजिए. ओके, ये तो आपको यूज करने की जरूरत नहीं, इट इज ऑलरेडी कमिंग फ्रॉम द प्रीवियस रिएक्शन. So when you get these things, what you do is you just use little bit of thorium. This thorium will help in getting converted into uranium 235 and also create plutonium again. प्लूटोनियम आपके लिए बाहर से आ रहा था, अभी प्लूटोनियम थोरियम के वजह से फिर से क्रिएट हो जाएगा. ओके, थोरियम will get converted into plutonium again and uranium 235. So plutonium was coming and plutonium is again getting enriched. So there is a continuous cycle of creation of plutonium for the fast breeder reactor. That means if you are using 1 gram of plutonium for the fast breeder reactor, tomorrow you will see that that 1 gram has converted itself into 10 grams. Why? Because the thorium got divided into what? Uranium 235 and what? Plutonium. Any doubts? See, plutonium was coming. Okay, let's say there is a machine where you are putting water, and from another channel there is coming of juice. Okay, that juice, when it enters into that machine, it gets broken into fruit and water. Fruit remains, that is the fruit, uranium 233, and the water is again getting created. So water was coming, again you fed water. So plutonium is coming from outside and plutonium is again getting generated inside the reactor. So जितना प्लूटोनियम आप पहले इस्तेमाल किए हैं उससे ज्यादा प्लूटोनियम आपको मिल गया. So it is a self sustaining. Do you need plutonium anymore? So it can keep on working without you giving any more plutonium after some years. So that is the criticality, where you are creating your own fuel. You getting my point? Everybody understood? Online fellows, all of you, did you understand what I just told? Very good. So plutonium is getting created. Plutonium is getting created. Plutonium के साथ आपके लिए uranium 233 निकला है. Uranium 233 is used for the third generation of reactors. So जब third generation of reactors आप यूज करेंगे तब थोरियम आएगा. Again you are using thorium. थोरियम क्या करेगा? थोरियम फिर से टूट के क्या फॉर्म करेगा? यूरेनियम 233. So after some years you do not need uranium 233 also. This will be self-sustaining. You just put in thorium, uranium 233 will come out. Again it will go as fuel. Again it will come out as uranium 233. So it keeps on repeating. So do you need external fuel anymore? Or it is self-sustaining? Yes, you don't need. So imagine India will generate 400 gigawatts of energy by 2047, wherein we will not be needing any petrol, diesel for energy generation or coal for energy generation. Our entire energy requirement will be from our nuclear power plants. Getting my point? One more thing is, यहां पे जो आपके लिए प्लूटोनियम निकलता है, that is 93% what? Pure. The plutonium is 93% pure. So this plutonium can also be utilized for weapons grade machines. So this will also help you in energy security and national security. So यहाँ से जो plutonium निकल रहा है वो 93-94% purity का होता है. That can be utilized for nuclear weapons. Then Utkarsh will ask me, sir, why do we need so much of weapons grade plutonium? See, we have something known as nuclear triad. What? Nuclear triad. Triad means you have nuclear weapons in submarines and ships. You have surface, from here you are sending surface to surface intercontinental ballistic missiles. You use nuclear weapons. You can also use it from aircrafts. When you have so much of mechanisms to throw in nuclear weapons, don't you think you need more weapons? You have, let's say you have hundreds of bats. Don't you think you need 1,000 balls? Otherwise, how will you play cricket? So if you have so many mechanisms to fire nuclear weapons, you need to have nuclear weapons. So that is why we are creating more amount of nuclear weapons. Now, I'll just tell you one more thing. In the nuclear power plant, they are always located near the source of water. They are always located near the source of water. तो ये क्या करते हैं, यहां से पानी डालते हैं, पानी डाला जाता है. आपको पता चल गया कि जब कन्वर्शन होता है इनटू बेरियम एंड क्रिप्टन, देयर इज आल्सो रिलीज ऑफ एनर्जी. एनर्जी इन व्हाट फॉर्म? हीट. Heat energy. That heat energy will boil this water. This water will boil and will generate steam. This steam will rotate the turbine. The turbine will generate electricity. After some time, the water becomes cold and that water is released into the lakes again. So this water is again utilized. So that is why we always need nuclear power plants near the sources of water, so that this water can be used for generation of steam and then the water can be sent back, and also for cooling the what? The nuclear power plant. This is how the mechanism, this is how it works. This I don't think you need. Well, I have already explained all these things. Stage 3 I have already explained, right? Few minutes back I explained that U33 is generated, then thorium is added, again U33 is generated, so it will keep on repeating. So every process in part 2 and 3 will be self-sustaining. That is what is criticality from our point of view. I hope everybody understood, or you have anything else to ask? Do you want to ask anything else? You need anything else? If you want, I can share the, what do you call that, PPT with you. But if you understood the concept per se, you don't need to mug up these things, right? Online fellows, any questions, anything you want to ask? Anything? Dibyasha, Adyasha, Anshuman, Ashu, Gitanjali madam, Madhusmita, Manisha, Saudamini, Supriya, Utkalika, anything you want to ask? Yes, it is multidimensional. Yes. It is पूरी multidimensional, multi-sectoral. ଯେମିତି ମଲ୍ଟି ସେକ୍ଟୋରାଲ ମୁଁ ଏଥିପାଇଁ କହିଲି କାହିଁକି ଏନର୍ଜି ବି ଜେନେରେଟ୍ କରୁଛ, ଆମର କଣ ସେଟା କୁହନ୍ତି, ଫର୍ ୟୋର ସେଫ୍ଟି ଅଲସୋ ୟୁ ଆର୍ ଡୁଇଂ, ଫର୍ ସିକ୍ୟୁରିଟି ଅଲସୋ, ଫର୍ ବୋଥ୍ ଦ ପର୍ପସେସ୍. Anything else? ठीक है, इफ यू हैव एनी डाउट्स यू कैन वेरी वेल सेंड इन। ओके, चलो थैंक यू। ପିଲାମାନେ ବୁଝିପାରିଲ ପୁରା ନା କିଛି ଅସୁବିଧା ହେଲା? ନୂଆ ଟିକେ ଲାଗିପାରେ ବଟ୍ inherently you will understand। ଏଇଟା କରେଣ୍ଟ ଆଫେୟାର୍ସ କଥା, ଏବେ କରେଣ୍ଟ ଆଫେୟାର୍ସ ହେଇଛି ଏ ଜିନିଷଟା ନା, ସେଇଥିପାଇଁ ଏବେ ଇଣ୍ଡିଆ ଏକ୍ଜିଷ୍ଟ କରିଦେଲା।